Hi Virgo, welcome to your August 2018 reading and happy birthday to all the August Virgos that will be having their birthday this month. We've got the sun moving into your sign, of course, on the 24th, and we have a beautiful full moon in your house of partnerships, marriage, legal contracts on the 26th. Before that, which is when the real party starts for Virgos. Before that, we have a lot of Leo energy, of course, with the sun there, the new moon and solar eclipse there, we have Mercury retrograding there, so that's 12th house energy for Virgos. The 12th house is kind of like, it would be what I would describe as the most spiritual of houses, yet also the most secretive. It's very like high priestess energy, it's Pisces energy, it's the mystical, it's the occult, it's the spiritual, and it can sometimes be an uncomfortable energy for Virgos that are very into what they can see rather than what they believe. So the practical element of things, maybe you become more in tune with the earth around you as an earth sign. You spend more time in nature in order to reconnect with spirituality rather than diving into a book about it or a documentary about it. You're more in tune with what you can actually see than what you have to believe as a spiritual way of living. So I think for you guys, a lot of this month is going to be channeling your spiritual side through being in nature, through the things that you can do with your body, dancing, walking, exercising. With Mars retrograding, don't go too hard. It's going to be in your 12th house, I believe. No. Forgive me. It's going to be in your 8th house. And then it moves back into Capricorn, I think on the 13th of the month. Which is, of course, the sign of love for you guys. So, no, retrogrades from your 6th house to your 5th house, that's where it is. See, Mercury retrograde's ruining my mind already. I'm getting very confused when I'm doing these. But, yeah. With Mars retrograding into the 5th, bear in mind, romantic partners from the past may resurface. It's a very common tradition when a big hitter like Mars, which is all about sexual energy and physical energy, the people you've been most passionate about in your life, the people that you've connected with on a physical level in your life, the people that you felt strong pulls toward, resurface with that energy. And it's for a short while, of course. For the majority of Mars's retrograde period, it is in your 6th house, which is health. Virgo is 6th house energy, so dealing with how you treat your body is very important this month, Virgo. What you're feeding yourself on, making sure that your health is your priority, making sure that it's coming from a loving perspective, wanting the best for yourself rather than punishing yourself, rather than trying to fit into a mold, exactly. So we'll see what we've got going on for you guys for the month of August. And see what we can find for Virgo. With the amount of 12th house energy, it would be a good time to wrap up loose ends that you're dealing with. If you are dealing with personal insecurities, personal demons, particularly if they are in relation to the physical. Maybe your health has had a knock and you feel less in tune with your body and you need to find a way of doing so, like yoga or things like that. We are starting the month off with 10 of Swords energy, which is actually not a bad way to start. And I know you're thinking I'm crazy when I say that, but the 10 of Swords is the end of a negative cycle. First and foremost, more than anything in the world, it is the end of a negative cycle. As you can see in this card, it's not as clear in this deck as it is in the traditional Rider-Waite, but this is the sun coming out after a period of destruction, after a period of pain, possibly pain you didn't see coming, possibly self-inflicted pain, as the swords represent mentality. It could have been a very, very strong fall So a fall from grace, a fall to the ground. It also reminds me of the line, it's darkest before the dawn. It's crossed by the 10 of cups. So some of you may have felt like you'd find a happy ending that didn't quite transpire that way. There seems to be a major disappointment. Something is wrapping up. Some of you are having breakups, potentially from long-term partners. This will be energy going into the month, so you'll already know about this, but I feel like you're possibly going through a real Phoenix moment. Particularly those of you that are Scorpio moon, Scorpio rising, you're going through a real transition of darkness to the light. It's going that way. It's working your way through. 10 of Swords to me is very like the 12th house energy I spoke of, where you're purging this spiritual side that has become clogged or has become frustrated and worn out and frayed and things. I think you're coming through to the other side. You could have been dealing with a Taurus or a Libra person, as the Empress is here, or it could have been a relationship with the mother. 2 of Wands here is in the past position, and the Lovers is the crowning energy. Not a bad one to have. Queen of Swords is the incoming energy. So you could also be dealing with an air sign, a Gemini, an Aquarius, or a Libra person. Libra seems to be featuring quite heavily in this reading already, is what I'm seeing here. I think this could be to do as well with the Gemini, with the Lovers, of course. But you seem to be having a choice to make. Now here's you, or a fellow Earth sign. 6 of Wands. The World card is in your hopes and fears. And the outcome is the 4 of Swords. And the 10 of Wands. So there's kind of a similar energy between your reading and Capricorn, whereby the pressure is mounting. Now I think this could be intensified whenever Mars does retrograde back into Capricorn, because you may feel like you have not made the progress you thought you did. You may think you're back to where you were a couple of months ago. You may find that old concerns are resurfacing and you thought you dealt with this. And as a Virgo, it's very frustrating not to see a clear progression. As an Earth sign, it's very hard not to see a clear progression. Venus has been in your sign until the 12th of August, when it moves into Libra, which focuses on your finances. So you may find that when Venus is in Libra, you may think you are very much defined by the money you have and the way that you look. Second house energy is about our needs, wants, and values, when it's not about our money, and the two are interlinked. I believe this came up in the Cancer reading as well. Our values and our needs are very linked. So how we value ourselves as a person can adjust what respect we get from another person, what we will accept from another person. If we undervalue ourselves, we will accept less. Similarly, on the flip side, if we undervalue ourselves, we will accept more, but in the negative. So we'll accept less love, more work. So I think some of you guys possibly feel you're not coming up to shape in your career and you're accepting more work than is actually fair. I think people may realize that you will take on more, and they're putting on more and more and more work until you're at a back-breaking amount where you feel like you can't do anymore and you completely exhaust yourself. You're overcompensating because you think you're lacking in some department. Very common with 12th house energy, where you're placing your value. With Venus in your second house, I think you're going to undervalue yourself. I think some of you are going to look in the mirror and think, I'm not up to scratch. I think some of you are going to look at your bank account and think, I'm not up to scratch. I think some of you are going to look at the way people are reacting to you and think it's your fault when it's not at all. Okay, so I think there is a boss, particularly in your relationships with air signs. If you have an air sign boss, if you have an air sign colleague, even an air sign family member, there seems to be somebody whose words are almost completely reflective of what you're feeling within yourself. They're saying something that you know they're going to say because that's how you're feeling. Or you're interpreting their words as meaning you're not coming up to scratch, you're less than you are. This just seems to be the energy throughout August, and it's not indicative of your actual worth. It is not a real, authentic projection of your worth. It is how you're viewing it through your lens, okay? It's exhausting me. You're working yourself into the ground, Virgo, and that's a typical attribute of your sign, yes, but it's completely linked to the way you're valuing yourself this month. And I think you're really selling yourself short when you don't have to, okay? I think this solar eclipse could be eye-opening for you because you may see yourself in a completely different lens. You may realize that you've been completely, your quest for perfection has left you feeling severely imperfect, is what I'm thinking. That's how I'm getting it anyway. I think your relationships with air signs this month may be somewhat complex. I think there may be something that a Gemini says and you're just not. I mean, Mercury is retrograde. That's your ruler. That's Gemini's ruler. You guys are both going to be miscommunicating, okay? The struggle is real, and it's definitely to do with the workplace and your family relationships as well. You're butting heads, possibly with your mother, possibly with the females in your life, over ideas, over politics, over world news. You're butting heads over things like that. You have to make a major decision, though, in some area, and I think it may be work. Some of you may be deciding it's time for a change. Some of you may be deciding you need to have a conversation about the workload that you're in. Some of you are thinking of a complete transition, and some of you are meeting someone new in love. There's definitely choices here, which is interesting. Possibly with a Gemini, but I think there's a lot of misinterpretation there. So for those of you that are in a relationship with a Gemini, you may feel like you don't know where you stand with them. You may feel like there is an element of deception, there's an element of trickery, there's an element of falsity that's just not, it's not clicking, okay? There's a lack of a click. You're not clicking with this person. And you're getting, it's like smoke and mirrors. Knight of Swords. Yeah, I think you're dealing with an air sign, a lot of you, and you're maybe not sure how to take this person. I think they may be saying a few words this month that really play on your mind. They play on your brain. Emperor. There's victory in work, by the way. You are impressing a boss, and it is possibly why you're overextending yourself. If you're your own boss, you're working completely nose to the ground and you're seeing success there, but is it worth running yourself into the ground for? You have a lot of control and a lot of transition. There is somebody in your life. There is somebody in your life that's definitely airy, okay? So if it's not an Aquarius, Libra, or a Gemini, it could be somebody with the moon or rising in those placements that gives them a silver tongue. It gives them a way with words. It gives them a protective foil. They're very shiny. They're very new. I would say sparkly eyes, somebody who's quite witty, somebody who's quite poetic at times, somebody who has a quest for the truth, somebody who has a quest for knowledge, and yet you're not knowing where you stand with this person. So someone analytical, someone who has a following, somebody who is popular. You may be taking a break from this person, or you may be spending less time at work to be with this person, though I feel like you're not sure where you stand with them. And I do think it's because they possess this way of communicating with so many other people and so many other ideas, yet they don't seem to be very forthcoming with their feelings for you. This could be somebody new that you're just trying to figure out, or it could be somebody who, with judgment, it could certainly be somebody who's come in from the past, or someone who you've been involved with for a while and had no closure with. There's a lack of closure with this person, so they're either new or they are somebody who returned with no real explanation. Do you mind? I'm trying to do a reading. Maybe that's a metaphor that somebody's flying in from somewhere, or somebody's a bit of a pest. Do you mind? Somebody's a pest. Anyway, Wheel of Fortune. So Jupiter, because the Wheel of Fortune represents Jupiter, particularly in the August readings, as Jupiter went direct on the 10th of July, and the Wheel of Fortune is number 10, which reduces to 1. We have 2 10s here and a 9 in the middle. Fates are changing for you. Now, Scorpio is actually Virgo's 3rd house of communication. So where there has been a lack of communication and things built on shaky grounds before, there's a lack of luck before, there's luck going forward. Okay, so if you've been feeling kind of unlucky, kind of tainted, kind of jaded, feeling like things haven't been progressing the way you wanted them to for a while, I think luck is changing for you and you're going to see growth. Do you mind? I keep telling you, you're not welcome in this reading. 5 of Wands. There's definitely conflicts going on with some people in your immediate surroundings, but they're bickering. It's not anything nuclear, I don't think. The High Priestess. Trust your intuition in your relationships. I feel like there's actually someone very significant coming in this month for a lot of you, especially if you are completely single. There's a chance at a new love relationship that can be very exciting. There's definitely a flicker of something here. Ace of Cups and the High Priestess. You may be dealing with a Pisces. You may be dealing, as I say, with a Gemini or a water sign. But it could be anybody. It could just be something that feels a bit more surreal. The High Priestess is that 12th house energy I was talking about, where you're really, really you're working with the depths of your personality and your spirit. You're divulging into them one way or another, whether it is yoga, whether it is dancing, as I say. Finding a way to communicate your spirituality through your body is important. I do feel like some of you are meeting somebody new, though, is something I'm picking up quite strongly here with the combination. 2 of Pentacles. But some of you are definitely weighing up your options with this air sign person, because you're maybe not finding a balance between love and work. Yes, you're maybe not finding a balance between what they say and what they do. It could be the polarity of Geminis if you are dealing with a Gemini as well. But there's an element of something is hidden, because we have the 7 of Cups and the 7 of Swords. There is an element of illusion. Maybe they are manipulating you with their words to an extent. Maybe they are controlling you by making you feel smaller. Now that's an extreme thing, but it is entirely possible. Emperor is beside the 3 of Swords, so I think some of you may be dealing with somebody who makes you feel small. All those attributes that I spoke about in the beginning, where you're feeling like you don't measure up. This may not be coming from you necessarily. It may also be coming from somebody else. So be wary of who you're letting affect your confidence and your stability and your self-esteem. But there is a new promise here. Okay. 3 of Cups. It's interesting because I think there may be someone who has returned from the past, and then someone who's come in for the future. So for those of you dealing with an air sign from the past, or somebody who was not an air sign, but embodied the qualities of one when this comes up, it's quite negatively aspected. So someone who didn't match your stability, someone who came in very quickly, someone who was prone to white lies, someone who was prone to gossip, someone who is prone to making promises they never kept. If this person has returned, be wary, okay? You can find a better offer this month in somebody who possesses the qualities of that person you admired, but also has more stability, because we have a King of Swords here with an Ace of Pentacles. For some of you, this may be that the person has genuinely come to a realization that they can give more. For others of you, I think it seems to be somebody new with a more promising perspective on things, more commitment with this air sign than there was from a previous, okay? So you could be dealing as well with a Capricorn, as the King of Swords has sometimes represented, but for the most part, you're dealing with somebody who's very intelligent. someone who's an intellectual, someone who is self-aware and makes promises they can keep. Okay, so this may be somebody that you've had a break from. Okay, this may be somebody who's been in and out, somebody who you had conflict with, somebody who you gave an ultimatum and maybe they didn't come through. This could be very much somebody from the past rekindled, of course, but it could be somebody new as well, particularly with the Ace of Cups energy and the Lovers. This could represent a new love interest for you, Virgo. But when we are dealing with one-on-one relationships, as I say, the value you set on yourself determines what you will and won't accept from somebody else. Make sure when you are taking on board a new love interest, you're setting your value and your standards higher than you've been setting them before. And you're believing that you're deserving of something very special and something very significant, rather than taking on board someone who's just going to give you bits and pieces and treat you like you're an option. So I hope you enjoyed that reading, Virgo, and I will see you in September. Bye.